After years of mounting losses and a failed merger, Spirit Airlines has filed for bankruptcy protection. The airline expects to continue operating normally as a budget travel icon, expects to exit bankruptcy in the first quarter of next year. Customers can continue to book with the carrier as the busy holiday season approaches. However, the company said Spirit will be delisted from the New York Stock Exchange as a result of this filing. So joining us this morning to discuss the future of Spirit is our 9 News legal expert, Whitney Traylor. Thanks for coming in.
Sure, good to be here.
A lot to talk about with this. So
Yes.
does this mean that Spirit, what does it mean that they're filing for bankruptcy? Because they're still operating.
Right, so they're still operating and they will continue to operate. So it really depends with anybody what type of bankruptcy. So this was a Chapter 11, so this is a reorganization. Okay. So essentially what they're doing is reorganizing their debt. And so the bond, so some of their bonds that were coming due, they're extending those deadlines and doing some things like that. They'll also, as part of their reorganization plan, they'll have less routes, so they'll be a little bit smaller. They're going to sell, I think, 23 planes, that kind of thing. So there'll be a number of nuances, but they'll continue to be in operation, and people who have tickets will be fine, and they can make reservations if they want.
It's really interesting because we know that Spirit was trying to combine with Frontier for a while, and then JetBlue, and then they were saying, well, we can't allow this to happen because it would, hurt customers, really. But in the end, now they're filing for bankruptcy. Yeah. So it makes you wonder, would that have been a better option? Right.
Well, that's a great point because, Frontier was initially trying to merge, and then JetBlue outbid them. Mm-hmm. But then the Biden administration challenged the Justice Department based on antitrust. And so here, the issue around antitrust is that if you have too many big businesses, that nobody can compete with them. Right. And so it was the notion was to protect the consumer, and they said that consumer prices would go up. You raise a great point, though, because they were not able to go through with the merger because of the antitrust concerns. Now we have somebody filing for bankruptcy. But you used to hear Donald Trump say this all the time when he filed for bankruptcy, and he said, I used the bankruptcy laws to my advantage. And so sometimes the bankruptcy, even if it's a liquidation, a Chapter 7, it's a business decision. And so here, this was a way to keep in business and still satisfy their debts.
So what does this bankruptcy represent for the industry?
Right, that's a great question. I don't know. I mean, some people are saying that the no-frills airliners, this is in post-pandemic, it's really difficult to operate like that. Most consumers now don't want the nickel and dime situation.
You want a pillow? $300.
Right. Exactly. You want a seat? Yeah. You want air?
Fly on the wing.
Like, right, exactly. So the consumers want to get away with that and kind of have, a more premier kind of experience, if you will. So this could be foretelling that these no-frill airlines may be in trouble, which is obviously going to impact most specifically those folks in the lower economic class. So that's, as it gets more expensive to live, everything is relevant. So I think that's something to keep an eye on.
So what happens next? Like, what's the timeline for everything?
Right, so they're in the process. It sounds like they'll be out of the bankruptcy sometime next year. So now what they'll have to do is sell the planes. They'll have to get court approval. So they're in the process, but it sounds like the most difficult part, which is coming up with the plan, getting with the creditors, that part has been satisfied. So folks who have tickets with Spirit or want to fly with Spirit, I think you can still do that. They may cut out some routes because they're going to have less planes, but otherwise you should be good.
Yeah, we know they stopped flying out of DIA a little while ago. Yeah. Do you remember the time when you would, get like a really nice meal and there was like room on the plane?
Gosh,
you got wings when you would fly. What happened to those days?
I mean, traveling is such a challenge now. Truly. I mean, it's so stressful. Yeah, but back in the day, it was a whole experience, and you really got treated well. But
everyone had a seat number. It wasn't like best of luck to you.
Right, exactly.
Oh man,
that's why we got to get our own planes.
Like you, Mr. Pilot over here.
Well, I'm almost there, everybody.
Look at you. It's amazing. As always, Whitney, thanks so much for coming in. Chris?
For sure.